There's a room on the upper floor of the Federal Appellate Building in Capital City. A room that doesn't exist on any public blueprint. No door plate, no assigned cases. And yet, records show it's been in use for over 37 years. Judgments have been handed down from it. Lives changed, forever. People sentenced. But no one's ever been able to explain who passed those verdicts, or why the transcripts are always sealed, without signature or stamp. Even custodial staff skip that corridor. The lights flicker there, but no electrician reports a fault. Security footage goes black for a few seconds, right when people walk past it. They call it Courtroom 6. And most have learned, quietly, carefully, not to ask questions. Because the few who did no longer work in law, no longer work anywhere, actually. They simply stop showing up. There are some institutions where the truth is buried so deep, the soil turns to stone around it, where legacy, authority, and silence walk hand in hand down marble halls. And beneath the robes and legal jargon, there are things you're never supposed to uncover, but someone did. Her name was Eliza Monroe. Fresh out of law school, just 26, ambitious, quiet, observant, and completely unaware that she was about to inherit a secret too large for one mind to carry. She wasn't chasing power. She wasn't trying to break the system. She just needed the job. And when she was hired as a clerk for Judge Ambrose Halstead, a sharp, unreadable figure who'd been on the bench for decades, it felt like a stepping stone. 1 year, maybe 2. Then she'd move on to bigger courts, cleaner courts. She told a friend once, "Judge Halstead doesn't seem like he belongs here. Like he's part of some older system no one remembers." She didn't know how close to the truth that really was. Judge Halstead wasn't just different. He kept to himself, rarely made eye contact, spoke only when necessary, and always carried a black folder with a single elastic band around it. He called it his ledger. No one was allowed to touch it, not even his law clerks. Eliza noticed that he worked late into the night, even when there were no cases scheduled. Sometimes, she'd hear a voice coming from his chambers, long after everyone else had gone home. Not his. Lower, hoarse, deliberate. And then one day, he stopped coming in altogether. No out-of-office notice, no email, just nothing. At first, it wasn't alarming. Judges go off-grid all the time. Health issues, personal emergencies. But 3 days passed, then 5. Then the Chief Justice received a package, no return label, containing Judge Halstead's docket and nothing else. His signature was scrawled across the top in ink so heavy it had bled through the pages, and written in faint pencil in the margin of one case, barely visible, were the words, "They've finally opened the 6th door." They sent Eliza to his house to retrieve court materials. She wasn't prepared for what she found. The blinds were drawn, the air inside, stale, unmoving. Every clock had stopped at 3:06 a.m. Every television turned to static. Every book opened to a different page. No signs of forced entry, no struggle. Judge Halstead lay on the bed, not dead, but not alive either. Breathing, eyes open, and entirely still. Next to his motionless body sat a wooden box, aged, scratched, locked, with a brass plate on top, engraved with Eliza's name. She hadn't told him where she lived. She hadn't given him her full name, but somehow he knew. What she found in that box should have been impossible. And the more she read, the more she began to understand something unthinkable. This wasn't just a judge. This wasn't just a courtroom. This was something older. Something arranged. A structure built to outlive witnesses, clerks, congresses, entire governments. And for the past 3 decades, it had passed rulings no one knew existed. And those it ruled against never received appeals. Because appeals only matter when the system wants to be seen. Some truths never make it into law books. Some judges never retire, even after their hearts stop beating. And when the courtroom doors close, What's spoken inside stays sealed, not just by law, but by something far older than law itself. Tonight, we're going to uncover what Eliza Monroe found, what happened in Courtroom 6, and what waits, quietly, patiently, for someone to summon it again. If you keep listening, you'll know what she did. Just don't expect to sleep after. Inside the wooden box were files, tightly packed, old, yellowed around the edges, stamped with the insignia of the federal court, but labeled with case numbers Eliza had never seen before. She counted 17 folders in total, each one marked with a Roman numeral, each one missing a plaintiff. No defendants, no judges, just verdicts. Some pages were handwritten, others typed on antique machines where the letters bled slightly onto the page like ink pressed into skin. But one thing was consistent across them all. Every case ended with the same line: sentence executed, witness removed. Eliza didn't know what it meant. Not yet, but in that moment, something changed. She tried to leave. She walked toward the front door, keys already in hand, but the lock refused to budge. Not stuck, not jammed. The key simply turned, forever. And behind her, the static on the televisions changed, all at once. No longer random noise. Now, it showed the same image across all screens. A courtroom, dimly lit, empty seats, a judge's bench, rotting from the bottom up, as though time moved faster in that room than in the rest of the world. And just beneath the judge's nameplate, a small brass plaque with her name. She ran, left the house, left the box, left the man who wasn't dead, but wasn't living either. But 2 nights later, her apartment door clicked open at 3:06 a.m. No one broke in. There were no signs of entry, but the box had followed her. It sat on her kitchen table, as if it had always belonged there. And this time, there was something new tucked inside. A photo. Grainy, black and white. It showed her, in a courtroom, sitting in the witness box, pale, eyes wide. But she had never taken that picture. And the date printed at the bottom? March 14th, 1987. She hadn't even been born yet. She reported it to her superior, then to the police, then to federal marshals. No one followed up. 2 days later, her supervisor, Assistant Chief Clerk Morris Kent, was found dead in his car, engine running, hands clasped in prayer. No wounds, no struggle, but his mouth was stitched shut. And inside it was a folded verdict sheet, blank. From that moment on, Eliza understood what she'd been brought into. Not assigned, not promoted, brought. By design. Someone or something wanted her close to that court. Each night, her phone vibrated at exactly the same time. No caller ID, no message. Just a faint voice on the other end, barely above a whisper, reading something, over and over. Legal terms, sentencing language, but spoken in a tone that felt reversed, like the law itself was being undone. She recorded it once, tried to play it for a tech investigator, but when he pressed play, all that came through was silence. And later that night, he left town. No warning, no note. His home was found empty, his hard drives melted inside their casings. Eliza decided to go back to the courthouse to find the room labeled 6. She searched every floor, every hallway, but it wasn't on any map. No door matched. Until she realized something odd. There were 5 floors, but 6 sets of stairs. One of them didn't appear on blueprints, tucked behind a fire exit. Concrete, narrow, no lights. As if it hadn't been built, but carved. She walked for what felt like 20 minutes, down, not up, until the sound of her footsteps changed, from concrete to tile. And then, she saw it. A dark hallway, no windows, no lights, and a single heavy door at the far end. Metal, no handle, Only a keyhole, shaped like a gavel, and beside it, engraved in the wall, all who enter bear witness, all who exit carry judgment. She didn't go in that night, but she returned. And each time she did, the hallway grew shorter, the air got colder, and she started seeing people on the street, strangers, wearing court badges from decades past. She began receiving court transcripts for trials that never happened. People she'd never heard of, being sentenced by a judge who never blinked. She still hasn't opened the door, but every night she dreams of it. And in that dream, she's sitting at the defense table, and the judge is her. If you were Eliza, would you open the door, or would you burn everything and vanish? Tell me in the comments, because someone out there is still holding that gavel, and they're waiting for someone to take their seat. On the 7th night after the box arrived, Eliza Monroe didn't go to work. She didn't answer calls, didn't text back. Her apartment was found unlocked, clean, still warm from the kettle left boiling on the stove. But her phone, it was open to a note, just a single line. You don't enter courtroom 6. It enters you. They never found her body, only the clothes she wore the day she first read the file, folded neatly, left on the bench outside the court building. Next to them, a cassette recorder, old, outdated, but still working. They pressed play, and for exactly 6 minutes and 6 seconds, all it played was the sound of a gavel striking wood. Again, and again, and again. 66 times. Then silence. Then, her voice. Soft, hollow, detached. Reading a verdict for someone unnamed, accused of witnessing what must remain unseen. The last words on the tape? Sentence executed. Now, if you visit that building, that hallway is gone. There are only 5 floors again, 5 stairwells, 5 judges, 5 security cameras. And yet, late at night, in the archived records room, new files still appear, typed in the same antique font, stained, yellowed, numbered, cases that were never tried, with witnesses who were never called, defendants who never had names, and sentences that always read the same: no appeal. There's a reason justice wears a blindfold. It's not to be fair. It's so she doesn't see what really happens when the courtroom lights go out. But this isn't the only place where the law failed to protect the innocent. There's a house in Coldwater, Michigan, where a teenage girl disappeared during a live online trial broadcast. The camera kept rolling for 47 minutes after the room went empty, and someone else stepped into frame. We'll cover that next time. If you thought this case was disturbing, you haven't heard anything yet. If the sound of that gavel is still echoing in your head, if you're still wondering what was inside courtroom 6, then you're already part of the record. Click subscribe so the file doesn't get buried. Hit like or risk your name being stamped on the next blank docket. And tell us below, would you open that door if it had your name on it?